Hey everyone, so picking up right where we left off, in this video we are going to look at handling collisions. Now we added polygon colliders to most of the objects in the last video, but we didn't do that for the terrain yet. So let's go ahead and do that, and you're going to see that we'll have to take a different approach to something that we'd done in the very first video, but that's the nature of game design. You put some code into place, or you put functionality into place, and then you have to rethink it because you come across a problem. So we are going to add a polygon collider to this object. So we are going to go to Add Component, Physics 2D, Polygon Collider 2D, and we'll set it as a trigger. And you can see the lines surrounding the edges really close. Next one, Add Component, Physics 2D, Polygon Collider 2D is trigger. Now this is the one that we rotated. Watch what happens with this. Add component, physics 2D, polygon collider 2D. It's wrong, and it's wrong because of this. So the system isn't smart enough to adjust based on the flip. What it's doing instead is it's looking at the source image and ignoring the flip. So what we'll do is we'll remove that component, and there are many ways to have an image flip. You don't have to do it this way. What you could do, we'll undo the flip, and instead we'll do a -1 scale. So effectively, it's still flipped. Add component, physics 2D, polygon 2D, and there you go. So just like that, we're able to rethink and come up with a solution. This one, add component 2D, physics 2D, polygon collider 2D, same thing. So we'll remove that, get rid of the flip, add component, physics 2D, polygon collider 2D, and is a trigger. And what we'll do, we will do the -1 scale. And add component, physics 2D, polygon collider 2D, that one's just fine, is trigger. Let's make sure I made them all triggers. I think I might have forgotten on one. Yeah, that one is trigger. There we go. So I didn't really give a summary in the last video since I said I was going to handle collisions in this one. For a collision to be handled, you have to do a couple things. A, any object involved with the collision has to have a collider. So if I want this to collide with the ground, they both have to have collider components. It's not good enough for just one of them. They both have to. Second of all, you need to put some coding into place to say what happens when that collision occurs. So what we're going to do, we're going to do just that. Now, what we hadn't done is we hadn't created a tag for the terrain objects. The reason why we created tags is because depending on what's colliding with what, you're going to have different results. So let's go ahead and select all of our terrain. So that's just a left click and then a shift left click under the bottom one. We'll go up to untagged, add tag, and we'll just call this ground. Save. And we'll go back to our objects. Tag ground. So now let's go to our ship, and we're going to open up the script. So shipcon, let's open that up. And in shipcon, what we're going to do, we're going to have a new section. So outside of update, outside of start, so in its own section, we're going to type on trigger enter 2D. And because this is Visual Studio, it does us the courtesy of adding all this other coding. We're going to change collision, though, to other. I think it makes it a little bit more clear because basically this word is just going to be like a handle or whatever the proper terminology is for a word that's referencing what you're colliding with. Well, saying collision is more of an action. By saying other, then you know that you're addressing the other object that you have collided with. So if there's a collision with an other object, we want to do something. We want to see what that object is, for one thing. So if other dot tag equals ground, then destroy game object. So destroy game, oops, sorry, wrong one. Game object, not game flow, game object, lowercase g. So this destroys the object that this script is attached to. The script is attached to the ship. So if this ship collides with some other object and that object has the tag ground, it will destroy the ship. Now, in the final version, you're going to want to have an explosion. Maybe we'll use a particle system. But for the moment, we just want to make sure the destruction occurs. And really, this is the bulk of what we're going to do in this video. It's just rinse and repeat and checking the other tags. So we'll run this. And we'll collide with the ground. Sure enough, the ship got destroyed. Now, there'll be other things too, as far as like you need to create a variable to track how many ships you have, how many lives you have, that kind of thing. Okay, so what else? Well, if you collide with the tower, so this, we also want the ship to be destroyed, so tank. So just adding on to this. Now, depending on what you're checking, you may have to put each variable that you're checking into its own set of parentheses. But in this case, since in both cases it's the tag, you don't have to do a separate set of parentheses. So other dot tag equals equals, and it was tank. So we'll save that. And what we'll do is we'll just grab that tank and we'll put one higher up so it's easier to reach. So I want to make sure that I'm not hitting the ground, that I'm definitely just hitting the tank. There we go. Now, decision, do you want the tank to be destroyed too? Purely a gameplay, game balance decision as to whether or not you want that taken out too. So if you want that taken out, then what we'll do is the script that's attached to this, the tank con, will basically do the reverse of this. It'll be an on-trigger enter 2D section as well, but it'll say if the tag of the other object is ship, I believe that's what we used. Oh, actually this one's untagged. I never did give it a tag, so I'll have to do that. So actually, let's do that right now. So add tag, ship. Sorry about that. And save. And we'll go back to our ship, add ship. Okay. So again, we'll do that in a minute. It's just reversing this. It's putting this onto the tank, but checking for the ship tag. So we can collide with the ground. We can collide with the tank. We can now check to go collide with the rocket, so the missile. So that was or other dot tag equals equals missile. And that too, yeah, that one would be a little bit hard to reach. So let's just move this over. Suppose we could just delete it. And we'll copy this. And make sure I can collide with these. Again, I want to make sure I'm not hitting the ground. I want to make sure I'm just hitting the missile. And perfect. And again, same thing, you might want the missile to be destroyed when it hits the ship. Okay, so far so good. Most of the collisions that need to happen between the ship and other objects are working. We need to now have the bomb also do all these. So I think we can just copy and paste that. because if the bomb hits the ground, we want it to be destroyed. If the bomb hits the tank, so yeah, we want it to be destroyed in any of these cases. So we can actually just copy this whole thing and then go to our bomb con script. And again, outside of start, outside of update, just like that. You do have to be careful when you copy and paste whole sections like that. If it's a more complex situation, you might have to tweak a few things, but in this case, we want the bomb to act exactly the same way. If it hits the ground or the tank or the missile, it gets destroyed. The only difference is when the tank and the missile get hit by the bomb, you definitely want them to be destroyed. So we said iffy if you want them to be destroyed when they hit the ship, but you definitely want them to be destroyed when they get hit by the bomb, or what's the point of the bomb? And the same thing would be true for the shots that you're shooting out, that if a shot hits any of these objects, you want the shot to be destroyed. Suppose it could be a piercing round, but I don't think you usually put that much thought into a simple game like this. But if it's a piercing round, then no, these would not destroy it. That probably just the ground would stop it. So now even the shot, just like that, should get destroyed if it's hitting any of those. So now what we want to do, we now, like I said, want to reverse it. So the missile and the tank should be destroyed by the bomb. So let's see, our tank has a script. And this is a case where we'll paste it in, but we'll have to make a couple changes. So I'm in the tank script. Now I don't want it to collide with the ground because it's sitting on the ground, so we don't want that to happen. So this is a case where, again, you can copy, but then you have to make a few changes. So we don't want the missile to collide with the tank. That shouldn't ever really happen. And so what we'll do, we'll say if the tank collides with the bomb or the shot, let's save that. I just want to double check those tags. So shot, I never tagged the shot. So let's go add tag plus shot. We go back to the shot. There we go. And then let's go back to the script. So bomb or shot. So let's double check bomb. Bomb was not tagged either. Okay, so add tag bomb. Save. Click back on our bomb. Bomb. Okay, so we want the tank to be destroyed. We said if it gets hit by the bomb, the shot, or the ship. So I could have left one of these in here actually, but it's easy enough just to copy and paste. Oh, by the way, I don't think I said it, the pipe symbol, that is holding shift and then the backslash key. So it's the key that's right down into like the left of enter. So it's above shift and just to the left of enter. It's the pipe symbol. And we said ship. So if the tank collides with the bomb, the shop, or the ship, it should get destroyed. So let's see if again we can do that. We'll just delete this one because these are just kind of placeholder locations anyways. And we need to see if these work. So there we go. The shot destroyed it. And we said bomb was B, right? There we go. And then the last one is the ship. We want to make sure it gets destroyed with the ship. So in this case, both objects should get destroyed. Perfect. And we can delete this because, again, these are just remark statements. They're not executed. They're just for internal documentation. So now, again, it's just rinse and repeat. We now apply this to the missile. So I don't think the missile might have a script, but it doesn't look like it's open. So let's click on, actually, I should click here. And yes, it has a missile con script, but was not open. Again, we'll delete the remark, and we just copy and paste. It's just rinse and repeat. It's exactly the same functionality, just applied to a different object. So again, outside of start, outside of update, and I believe we want it to be the same. If the bomb collides with the missile should be destroyed. If the shot collides with the missile should be destroyed. If the ship collides with the missile should be destroyed. And again, we'll just delete that. Technically, I shouldn't copy this one. I probably should just have moved in another from there. Like I said, you make the change to the prefab. So shot destroys the missile. Bomb destroyed the missile. And the ship should destroy the missile. They should destroy each other. Perfect. So just like that, we've added, I think, all of the collisions. The only thing that's left is the missile doesn't actually attack. So that's not really a collider issue. That's a detection issue. So I think we can take care of that in this video too, because that's pretty simple, because we've already looked at similar functionality. So remember how we said we set a border by having the distance between the ship and the camera be detected? We need to do the same thing. We want to see what the distance between the ship and the missile is, and then have the missile fire based on that. So that means what we need to do is, just as we created a static variable for the camera, for the camera's location, we need to do the same thing for the ship. So let's go to our game flow script, public static vector2. So again, kind of a rinse and repeat scenario. This time it is the ship POS. And we save that. So now what we want the missile to compare the ship's position to the position of the missile, and then if it's within a certain range, it should fire. Now let's go to the ship con script, because even though I called this variable ship POS, that doesn't mean anything except to you, the designer. So that's telling you what you're going to use it for, but I haven't actually given it that value. So in the update section, make sure you're doing this outside of the if statements. We're simply going to say gameflow.shipPOS is equal to transform.position. So with every frame, this will be updated. However, the very first frame, when things get instantiated, since we didn't give this a value, it's going to default to 0. So if you don't give a variable a value, it's going to default to 0 or blank, null, that kind of thing. So what we need to do is we need to take this and put it in here to make sure that when it's instantiated, the position of the ship is applied to it. Now we will go to our missile con, and now that that value is getting updated with every frame, we're now going to check the position. So in the update section, we're simply going to say if game flow, so we have to say where that variable is declared, dot ship POS dot x, because we only want the x component, I shouldn't say component, the x value. So remember, it's a vector 2, so it's a variable, but it's containing two values. It's containing x and y. So we only care about the x. So it's gameflow.shipPosition.x. We're extracting that x from that variable. If it's greater, then transform.position.x. Again, we need to extract the x because we're only looking at the x value. And again, transform.position is the position of the object the script is attached to. In this case, the script is attached to the missile object. And now we just create a range. So let's say -2. And then when that happens, we simply modify that rigid body 2D component that we added, and we give it gravity scale of like -0.4, game balance however fast you want the rocket to fire. So let's visualize this. So what that's saying is you have a rocket, and there is to the left, so you're minusing 2. Once the ship breaches that threshold, it will fire. Okay? So let's run this. That fired, looks like, well, actually, it did clip me, so if I didn't move, but that might be a little bit, we'll leave it. It's functional. I was thinking it would take off a little bit sooner. If what you can do is if you change the speed, then you would change the distance. So if you made this fire faster, then it could wait till it gets even closer. So we actually will change this to 1. So like say 0.6. And I don't want to do too much of this because again, this is a game balance decision. So the -1 really isn't that great. So actually, it looks like for anything you do the opposite, you might actually increase this. So we'll set it back to 2, and that's fine. And you're going to do experimentation like that. So I think that's probably a good place to stop for this video because I believe we did everything that we wanted to. We have the collision of the ship, the bomb, and the shot to the ground, the missile, and the tank, and we now added the rocket's ability to fire based on your proximity. So I think that's going to be it for this video. We'll probably do one more. I said there was going to be 3 or 4. So in the next video, what I'll probably do is I'll do the UI. So like you'll see, player up score, high score. Maybe I'll show you how to do a boss battle. It's really not that hard. You basically just stop scrolling. So how we had set up this base speed, you turn base speed to 0 so it stops moving, and then you just instantiate a big object. So I don't think we've used instantiate command, so it looks like I'll probably do that in the next video. Or if you want to make this a little bit more modern and have it be an endless scrolling game, then what you could do, that would also involve the instantiate command. So that's what I'll do in the next video. In addition to the UI, I'll give you a couple quick options as far as how to make this an endless scroller or how to have it be more like a traditional old school side-scrolling shooter where at the end of the level there's a boss and then it loads a new level kind of thing. So let's leave it for here. If you have any questions or any additional features you like added, please put it into the comments. And I hope that you found this useful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.